Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Maaike, welcome to Floating in Dreams. This YouTube channel is all about makeup and fashion related bits, and eyeshadow palettes are my favorite thing to chat about, so that's why we are going to be talking about my top 10-ish favorite winter palettes. I did a video like this last year, so I'll make sure to put that in the description box down below. And since I didn't want there to be any doubles, I think I have 10 new-ish palettes for you to talk about that we are going to be chatting about today. So let's get started. But before we get started, there are two things that I need to address before you can really dive deep into these favorite winter palettes. Yes, I am back, sort of. If I look tired, and you can see I'm not wearing any makeup as well, that's because I am tired to the core of my being. And that's one of the reasons why I was gone for a bit. But I'm under doctor's orders to do something I like doing once a day. And I really enjoy playing with makeup and filming videos. So I thought I could come on here, but doing makeup at the moment, like doing a full face of makeup, takes up way too much brain space. So that's why we're not doing that. So if I look tired, if my face looks really red and shiny, I just did my skincare routine, we're all good. I was like, you know what? This is the real me at the moment, so that's what I've got going for you. And the other thing I need to address is the hair. I got a haircut, I had it cut and colored, and I'm really happy with it. It's just, my natural texture is just sort of like all over the place at the moment, so I really need to still like learn what my hair wants to do now that I've got bangs that are a little bit longer, and also like what the rest of my hair does. So yeah, it's a lot shorter, and it's very sort of wavy at the moment, so I'm loving it. And now we're going to get to these eyeshadow palettes. Now all of these announcements are out of the way. So yeah, winter palettes. We all know that I like a good eyeshadow palette and that I prefer, especially in the winter time, really leaning into the cool tones. I love that year round for myself because I have a pretty fair skin tone that pulls more cool to neutral with like a slight pinkness, like reddishness, as you can see, that I'm not wearing any foundation whatsoever. So that's sort of what I've got going on naturally. And that also means that that's what I really want to lean in for the winter time. In the winter, I tend to go Snow White pale, meaning that a lot of like very deep saturated color stories are just not really my jam. However, I like to recommend a mix of things. And since I wanted to feature mainly like newer to me palettes and not like the same old palettes that I have been recommending for years, even though there's one, for those people who've been following me for a while, there is one palette that I have to mention when I talk about winter palettes, but we'll save that till the end. But I wanted to feature some new-ish things in here as well. So I've got 10 plus a bit palettes for you that we will be chatting about, and let's just get started. All right, so first up, I think that this kind of palette is perfect for the winter time, and it's a pastel palette. This is the Shroud Cosmetics Creepy Cute. I still have the packaging from when it said Strobe, which is their previous name, and I just think that this is a perfect winter color story. Like, I can tell like pastels for spring, I get it, but these very light white based colors I think can be really fun pops of something if you're doing a more neutral look and then pulling something like this in for the winter season as well, especially if you have fair skin like me. Like for instance, this peachy shade and also that pinky shade, they're very neutral on me when I wear them. So when I was using this palette a lot to try it out, I definitely went into those two shades for like a neutrally base, and then I used sort of the other ones as fun pops of color, especially this top row I love using on the lower lash line for that accent shade. And this black in this palette is amazing. So if you want to do a bit of liner, the black in this palette is absolutely gorgeous. One of the best blacks out there. Let's get some of these neutral things out of the way first. And another neutral palette that I would like to recommend for the winter season is the Meesha Cosmetics The Fawn palette. Meesha is a UK-based indie brand, and I believe their website is back. I think around Black Friday, I actually saw them posting on their Instagram saying that they were back in business. They are a very small company that isn't running their business 24/7 because I think the owner has like a different day job on the side and they're like just making like palettes for fun. So this is maybe a bit difficult to find, but yeah, they do have really lovely quality. And the reason why I like this, I've said it before, but this is what the Nabla side by side could have been for me. So for me, the Nabla side by side wasn't all that perfect because in the end, I felt it really didn't blend very well on me. There was just something about the undertones of that palette that it really didn't go very well with my complexion. But I feel you get very similar shades in this one, and then some. So you do get fewer shades, but it is a really, really lovely palette. And this taupey shimmer is life. You get some cool tone browns, you get some reddish tones for a bit of warmth. So in terms of like a neutral color story that doesn't skew too warm toned, not too cool toned, but that is more smack in the middle, but that can give you something interesting. This is lovely, and especially if you lean into this row here, that's a winter landscape on your eyes waiting to happen. So that's why I do want to recommend this palette. Now here's why we are getting into the plus 10, so the 10 and a bit, because I wanted to recommend a palette, but by this time, the aim has been that I would have tried it already on my eyes, but so far I sadly have only been able to swatch it, which is why I'm going to be recommending the palette that I think has kind of replaced it. So the palette that I used to love is like solid recommendation because I've tried that. And then the newer rendition of this is going to be sort of like my updated recommendation, but I'm not entirely sure, which is why I didn't want to put it in here. I don't know if I'm making sense, but what I'm talking about is Huda Beauty. And I did get her new Rose Quartz palette when it launched. But the Mercury Retrograde came out a little earlier, and I think this is a perfect wintertime color story. I do remember when I bought this, I bought it more over like the spring-summer season because these shades kind of made it more of a colorful palette in my brain just looking at it. But now that I've tried it, it has a lot of like very nice like wintry rosy tones and like very, very neutral. And what I also didn't realize until I tried it, that's because these two shades are the deepest. It's not that deep of a palette, so if you're like me and you have that Snow White kind of complexion, this is really pretty. And the way I kind of use it is that, you know, you have quads in here that you can use, or like little sextets or quintets that you can just mix and match. And then you have some colorful shades for some fun pops of color, which is why I always liked it for like a great skin, like a great eyeshadow palette for anyone with very fair skin. But now that the Rose Quartz has come out, I'm like, is this the replacement for my Naked 3? I think it might be. This is cool toned, mauvey, rosy toned heaven in an eyeshadow palette with some duochromes and like fun shimmering shades. Like these, these three are these like really interesting like iridescent toppery kind of shades that have something differently to them. You get some lovely taupes in here. You get all the like mauvey tones that you could possibly want. It does come with a strange petri dish kind of shade, which is a bit of a shame. And I was afraid looking at the pictures that this would be very overly pink leaning. But now that I've swatched it, these pinks actually don't pull overly pink on my fair skin tone. So when I swatched these, I was very impressed with how it didn't look too pinky. I was afraid it was going to be too like dusty pink. I don't do dusty rose. It doesn't work. But these are bright enough and they have enough of a blue undertone that it goes really well with my coloring, which is why I think once I try this on my eyes, it's going to replace the Mercury Retrograde as a solid favorite, and that it might replace the Naked 3 by Urban Decay, which has been a long-standing favorite in terms of like my favorite rosy toned neutral eyeshadow palette. But I think this may be the one. I'm hoping it will be. I'm hoping it will be, which is why I wanted to mention it in this video. But in the wintertime, I do like a little bit of color, and I do think that wintertime is the season for like smoky eyes and more interesting like textures and things like that. Because especially I think over the holiday season that, you know, when you wear something sparkly and it's like a low lit situation, it just looks extra pretty. And I think a palette that can do that, give you some interesting shades that are more cool toned and still have saturation, is the Quintessence palette from Sydney Grace and Temptalia. This was to me the more unique palette in that launch. It wasn't my favorite in the end when I was using it, but do you just see, isn't this just like winter in a palette? Or is it just me? Like these like cooler tones in the bottom, and then these greeny tones. This like very nice, like vibrant bluish purpley shade combined with that. And then this teal over here is really lovely too. I bought the deep version because I thought that the two mattes that were exchanged in the light were too much of a gray, and I wasn't in love with that. But in the end, on me, the two shades that are in the deep also pulled very gray toned on me. So now I think, should I have gotten the light as well? Anyways, or like instead of this, I mean. But yeah, the Quintessence palette, I think, is a lovely color story for the winter time. And if you love a good shimmer, then Sydney Grace is the place to be. And I was talking saturated colors, and I hope they still stock this, I'm not sure. But the Bay Age of Opulence palette. I mean, the packaging is hideous, because when this came out of the box, it was like, really? Okay. But this is what it looks like. And we all know that I love blue, greens, and purples in terms of like the shades that I like to wear. And this, it's not that cool tone. So especially also if you're more of a color lover and you like some more warm tones, then I think you might appreciate this. It has some brightness. And to me, this is like the updated version of the Book of Magic. I also have the Book of Magic, but that I am sure of you can no longer find. And I feel that this can give you a very similar thing. Again, not a palette that I've tried on my eyes yet. Again, by now, I should have used this. But since I haven't worn any makeup for about 3 weeks, yes, that's where we're at, people. I think it's been the longest I've been without wearing makeup in almost a decade. I think so, yeah. So, but yeah, that's why I haven't tried this yet, but I think it's a lovely palette. It swatches beautifully. The shimmers in this are out of this world amazing, and I think that this is a great pick. If you are someone who likes a more saturated color story, then this would be my recommendation for you. And now this next one I need to be very, very careful with, because this is the Perky Lavender Chincilla palette from Sigil Inspired, aka Tammy Tanuka. I bought this off their Etsy shop when it first stocked over the summertime. It took about 4 months to get here due to Dutch postal services just not being great, and it kind of shattered on me, sadly, in transportation. Nothing on the brand. The brand was lovely in the whole process. I mean, they resend it to me without extra costs, which I thought was really great customer service. But 2 of the shades came a bit broken, and I was able to press them back in, but I think that if I tip it any further, they may just fall out. So it's a really lovely gray toned color story with some like lavender, purpley shades, and I swatched these, and these are out of this world, insanely, amazingly pigmented. I'm super impressed. Again, not one that I've tried. I only just got it in the other day, so that's one that I definitely still need to put on my eyes as well. But those like grayish lavenders, I thought were a perfect color story for the winter time. Oh, I said we were gonna do neutrals first, and then I skipped this one. A new-ish launch again also this year was the Urban Decay Naked 3 Mini. And like I said, if the Rose Quartz has replaced my Urban Decay Naked 3 for me, then this I think is going to have a very long life in my collection, because I did already try this. I did like 1 or 2 looks with it, and this, I mean, this, if you know anything about me, anyone who's followed me for a while knows my love affair with the Urban Decay Naked 3. You guys know all about it. And I'm so happy they now do it in a mini. These aren't the exact same shades as you get in that palette. And I'm very happy with it, because the Urban Decay Naked 3 has more like rose gold leaning shades. And this is mauve tones. And I feel there are not enough mauve tones in the Naked 3. So this is definitely a more updated version of that. Could this be darker? I think so. Like this is just, I mean, these first 4 shades, I think if you have anything deeper than my complexion, is it even going to show up? I don't think so. So in terms of inclusivity, I don't think this is a good one, but if I just stick to like my comfort zone, and at the moment, what I really want to do is stick to my comfort zone, and this is a really, really lovely palette because of that. Bridging the gap then to some more colorful things that I also wanted to pop in here. is the Essence I Like to Mauve It eyeshadow palette. This wasn't my favorite of the 4 that we got here. We didn't get the taupey one or the coral one over here. They didn't launch them in Europe. So I'm secretly hoping that when Essence updates their line again in the springtime, that those 2 remaining palettes then come our way. I'm still hoping that we get the taupe one, because that I think is even more perfect than this. Of the 4 that launched, I like the green one the best, and this is a really good runner-up. In the end, I felt that they're just, this gray toned I wasn't a big fan of. I wanted that to be more like a cool tone purple. If that could have been like a very deep, intense, like royal purple plum leaning, I would have liked it a lot better. But you do get a really nice transition in here. I do really like these like shimmery shades that you get. I didn't really love this. So if these 2 shades, if this could have been like more of an inner corner highlight, and if this could have been more purple, I would have liked it even better. But these little Essence palettes have such great quality. And I was going through my makeup collection going like, what's another good winter palette that launched quite recently that you can buy right now? And I was like, these Essence ones. If you're more of a blue tone person, you could look into the blue tone one, but that was actually my least favorite ones in terms of quality. I thought that was a little lackluster and it didn't have the same kind of blendability as this one had. So that's why I would recommend this one over the blue one. And I have another blue tone palette to recommend, because if I think like a shade that I want to put all over my eyes in the wintertime is blue. Like blue, like navy, smoky eyes. That's what I live for in the wintertime. And I think a palette that can help you do that is the Nabla Cutie palette in the Midnight version. It has, like, again, this is just icicles in a winter wonder dreamland. Like, it's like a frozen lake. That's what this reminds me of. So you do get this really lovely, deep, intense matte that needs a bit of work. I'm not gonna lie, it's not the easiest shade to work with, but it's lovely. Get a really intense royal blue shimmer. And then these lighter shades in the middle are like either great for toppers or inner corner highlights. And this is the great transformer. Topping this over the navy blue is going to be lovely. And you get a bronzy, browny, shimmering shade just to round out the palette, just to ground it a little bit. And that if you don't want to go full on blue, you don't have to. So it gives you some options as well. So for a blue tone palette, I feel this is quite versatile, and it's just, the color story is amazing. So I had to put it in here. And finally, another color I love to wear year round, but that I think if you can find good cool toned purples, are just essential for a winter toned eyeshadow palette. And then I can only recommend one thing, and that's the Viseart Violette Étendu. This, when I tried it last year, it was like, oh, so stunning. We get some mauve tone neutrals at the top. Like everything in here, even these neutrals, has a purpley undertone. And everything is cool toned. Very often purples, like for instance in the Flight Club by Menagerie, it's got some stunning purples, but a lot of them skew more warm toned and have quite a lot of a red base to them. Whereas these are all more going towards the blue end of a purple. And that's what I love. So you get some lovely lavenders. This taupey lavender shimmer, so lovely. This quality of this is great. You get a really good matte purple in here as well. Yes, the Violette Étendu by Viseart is definitely a recommendation. I believe they still stock this on Beauty Bay if you were looking for it, and also the official Viseart website does stock this palette, I believe. It's not in stock everywhere, but you can still find it. And those were the 10 palettes I wanted to mention most, and I have one honorable mention for you. Because guess what? What has been my OG favorite winter eyeshadow palette? I'm gonna give the OG viewers a moment to reminisce. Like, what does she love? What does she love? Oh yes, oh yes. This is long since discontinued, which is why I wanted to do an update of this video, because a lot of my favorite eyeshadow palettes you just can no longer get. And even though I love them and I love raving about stuff that I love, I don't always want to go on and harp on and on and on about things you can no longer buy. You may be able to find this, the Too Faced White Chocolate Bar, because that's what I'm holding up in case you're unfamiliar. You might be able to find it on resale sites, but I think this was limited edition in like 2018. Like, it's been a while. So this is an old palette, if you can still find it. This palette got, it got so much flack, you guys. So many people were just burning it to the ground. And I was like, yes, this palette is not gonna work for you if you are someone who prefers something like Beauty Bay Age of Opulence. If that's your vibe, this is not it. It's just not gonna cut it, because this is light. This is for the fairest of the fair people. If you're with me, if you go into that Snow White mode, maybe even year round, and you're not like me, like where it's really only like in the dead of winter that you go pale enough for this. What I have found over the years is that a lot of even neutral palettes that people say, oh, this is a great neutral palette, they're just too dark for me. And this, I mean, these two, perfection for crease work, outer V, all that kind of stuff. These two shimmers are the perfect complementary shades. You get some really fun pops of like pastel-y colors. And then you do get like a black with shimmer, which I don't really care about. And also this, like, what's it called again? Banana Date. I really don't care for these two shades. Like, if those could have like been left out, I would have been a lot happier. But even these like peachy shades, I know that a lot of people loved the Sweet Peach palette, but I've got all the peaches I need in this one. So for me, Too Faced White Chocolate Bar is still the holy grail winter palette. Like, it just is. Because if I work with this, I just get the most neutral, really perfect for everyday look that has a really good shimmer formula that I just love to build up to full intensity, foil it, and then it just looks so shiny and nice. And this is so, so good. And I hate recommending it, but I had to throw it in here because I just love it so much. And it's the OG winter palette of all winter palettes. Like, this palette is the reason I started to do this video. Pretty much. So that's why we have the Too Faced White Chocolate Bar here. So there you have it. Those are all of the palettes that I wanted to talk about in today's video. I really hope you enjoyed watching today's video, everyone. Please stay tuned for more. I'm gonna try and do a couple of videos to round out the year. I've got my second part of my blush collection already filmed, and I hope to be able to just edit it some point in the next week or so. I definitely want to do an overview as well as of my favorite products of the year. I definitely want to do that before the year is out. If I have the energy to film, I'll do that, and if not, then it won't happen. We'll just see. We'll see what the week brings. At the moment, it's very sort of up and down, up and down, up and down. Yeah, thank you very much for being with me today, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I hope to be able to come back with some more content in the month of January and sort of slowly ease back into it and like do a few videos extra in like every week or month or whatever it is that we're doing. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you would like to stay tuned for more. I hope to catch you in my next one. Bye-bye.